Try.
Yeah, but how many of us were born here?
No.
You weren't born here?
No.
No, nobody.
That's why we gotta bring the good. We're bringing the good.
Namaste, you guys. Thank you for being here. We are on a new series based on the Kleshas. And the Kleshas are basically they're the mental afflictions that cause or create suffering. And yoga mentions 5 categories of this. I want to distinguish the difference between what yoga says are the root cause of affliction versus what Buddhism says, because if you look at Kleshas, you may find the Buddhist take on it, which is more emotions like jealousy and anger. I can't remember them all. Different than yoga. So I'm making that distinction. So the first one we went over last week, which was basically the veil of illusion. What we think is reality, but is not really reality. It's also considered the veil of forgetfulness, the veil of illusion. This week we're going into the second category. And the second category is called Asmita. And Asmita means egoism. And how egoism can create suffering. So if you think about the ego is something that we need. You know, there's good qualities of the ego. Good qualities of the ego can create courage and confidence and give us drive and, you know, make us be a productive citizen. And the negative or the detrimental side of the ego is it can make us feel better than or less than, right? It could go either direction on the spectrum. Someone can really puff up their ego and think, wow, I've done all this, and I have this, and this is my title. And then someone feels less than, their ego's bruised, they're feeling like they don't amount to that. Either one of those can create suffering. So when we're looking at egoism today, I just want to give a few examples. So I won't be with you Friday in the training. Kimberly and I are going through some Reiki Master training, and we have 2 different groups that we've been going through. There's a group on Sunday and a group on Friday, and we've been going to the group on Friday. Well, I'm going to be out of town this weekend, so I needed to make up for the class, so I went yesterday. I drove literally all the way back from Norfolk. I got up at 5 a.m., drove all the way back to Nashville just to go to this training. And in the trainings, this is a good example. Everyone is their own unique individual. We know that. Well, we're going through this Reiki training that is taking us to a different level of not just the ability we have with the healing that we're trying to participate in, but through these attunements, it's helping us to get more tuned into ourselves and helping us to become more intuitive. And then we're giving exercises as ways to kind of explore our intuition. And so yesterday we were just kind of discussing, okay, what's happened over the last 2 weeks since we met last. And we were talking about some intuitive stuff that may have come up. And there were 3 women kind of sitting on this side of the room, and all of them, when they were talking about like their examples, they were big examples. And they were having major moments. I mean, one lady is a massage therapist, Reiki practitioner, who gets a visual when this person is on the table. They get a visual. It kind of looks like a sidebar, like on a computer, and she sees everything that's going on with that person's body. That's how she's getting the messages, and she knows exactly what to go to. And then while she's working on them, she's also giving them information about what she's picking up. And so now all her clients are like, I don't want just a massage for me, I want the energy work and the intuitive stuff too, right? And so she was talking about great success she's having with it. And then another lady spoke up, and she's in the medical profession. And actually she just left the medical profession because she doesn't like how things are right now, and she's trying to go a different direction. She's not sure what that looks like, but she's going into a different mode of how can I help people and how can I help through different ways of healing, because the healthcare system is no longer working for us and it's no longer working for her. And so she's trying to create a new path. Well, she's having all of these amazing like psychic moments, right? And then it gets to this other person after 3 women had, gone on and on about their experiences. And then this woman over here was like, I got nothing. I don't even know if I should be here. I don't even know if I'm getting anything from this. Do you see? And then she started getting really sad and down on herself because she wasn't having moments like the other women. And I'm just sitting there listening, and I happened to know this one that was feeling this way. And so I spoke up and I was like, if it makes you feel any better, I'm not having big moments like that. I'm not having any of that. I am seeing a result, I am seeing a benefit, I'm definitely getting something from this. And then I had to remind her of a conversation we had had where yes, things were coming up intuitively, she just didn't think about it in that moment. But we had talked about it, and I'm like, you actually have had a huge shift because you've been in the question of something and now these things are appearing and coming right to your lap. That is your thing. It's not gonna look like theirs. Mine doesn't look like yours or theirs, right? We're all individual. But even in that, I could see how the ego was creating some suffering, right? So I went to visit my family over the weekend, and my dad is stroked. And, there are moments where he's completely content and fun to be around. And there are moments where he can feel down upon himself because he can't just do what everybody else is doing. He can't just walk across the room to get what he needs. He needs help with it. There's a suffering of the ego. I had a little suffering last night when I returned home because I rushed all the way back, did the training, and I fall into Rob's arms last night, and we've been apart for days. And what should have been a makeout session turned into me crying in his chest because it just hit me after I got back. It's like, okay, not only am I tired, I fell back into the mode of being in that family unit, which is not really who I am. And I'm also feeling the grief of losing my dad because of the state that he's in. I can't converse with him like I used to. So I was grieving. Last year, and talk about the ego, I don't feel like I have like a big ego. Like I've always kept it tempered. I've never, really felt like that was a place of suffering for me. But I did go through a grieving period last year with the closing of the studio and everything that happened, right? Because I lost my title as an entrepreneur. I lost not really, I'm still kind of an entrepreneur, I'm still doing my own thing, but in the way I was looking at being an entrepreneur, having a physical space, having the role of leading a whole community, like, it took me months to figure out, like, oh my God, my body's in so much pain. Why is my body in pain? When did the pain start? Oh, the pain started with all those changes. The pain started with some of the other things I had to deal with through the changes. And I discovered that was a complete ego death. Because I lost my role, lost my title, lost my place, lost connections, lost a lot of stuff. I lost friendships from it. Like, there's a lot of loss. So it was an ego death. So we all suffer to some degree with the ego, whether it's big or small, whether it's high or low. Even you talking about your mom, we were talking about someone's mother being so attached to what the children are doing, It's an attachment to that, and attachments are coming next week. Attachments are another category, but you can see how even that conversation we had could fall under ego. right? The role of playing mother and your responsibility for your children being healthy and happy and productive. And then you could also see it next week with attachment. You have that heart attachment, but you could also see it from last week's illusion, right? So that's where we're going today with Asmita. So the point is, yoga and meditation is supposed to help us to understand and see this is the root cause of the suffering, and to get our wits about it. And then when we practice yoga and meditation, what we're really trying to do is peel back all the layers of that, all the false identities. This is a false identity, this is a false identity, this is, even our gender is a false identity, which I relate to being a female super strong. But even that is a false identity. Our race is a false identity. Our age is a false identity. What we're really trying to move towards is the true essence of who we are, which is the witness, the spirit, the infinite part of ourselves that is unchangeable. All right, ego is a big one. Let's go ahead and let's start on our backs. Start on your back with your hands resting on your belly. And I want the hands to rest on the stomach region because we just did a whole series based on the chakras. And if you remember, the solar plexus, the upper part of the abdomen, is considered the seat of the ego. This is also a place where we should feel and experience movement when we're practicing deep diaphragmatic breaths. Think about how the ego is all about I, me, mine. So let's set our intention to peel back those layers of I, me, mine, or any of those personality traits that we have, to dive into the core of our being. To remember the essence of who we are, which goes beyond worldly possessions, which goes beyond any title or any role that we play. Improve your diaphragmatic breathing so that every time you breathe in, your belly is expanding more. And every time you exhale, feel the belly softly deflate. And let's take a cleansing breath. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Breathe it out audibly through your mouth. Sometimes a cleansing breath can help to get us in check if we notice we're leaning into the negative side of the ego. Take one more cleansing breath, breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your mouth. What can you wash out and away? Reflect on maybe a point in time where maybe root of your suffering was caused by the ego? Were you cross comparing yourself to anyone else? Did you go through a great loss? Did you have a tremendous amount of change? Did you feel like you failed at anything? And remember, sometimes our failures are meant to be there to make us stronger or to lead us in a new direction. So we can actually look at that as a gift, as a blessing, instead of a curse. Now on your next in-breath, go ahead and pull the feet together, lengthen your arms overhead, take a morning stretch. And then as you exhale, hug your knees briefly in towards your belly and chest. Wrapping your arms lovingly around yourself with metta, loving kindness, and Maitri, radical self-acceptance. I want you to think about that. Radical self-acceptance. Inhale, let's open up the arms to a T. Exhale, let your knees roll over to your left. Once the knees drop over to the left side of the body, see if it's in your range to turn your head to the right shoulder. Now, if that doesn't feel good to your neck at this moment, it could be because the right shoulder is hovering above the floor. And that usually limits our range of motion in the neck. So if you feel that limitation, then you can obviously turn your head to the other shoulder instead. Just so that we're bringing the twist all the way up into the neck. Now close your eyes and focus on the wave of the breath coming up and down the right side body. Open the breath deep and wide. And on your next inhale, turn your head to center, draw the knees through center, and then lower the knees off to the right. Maybe turning the head to the left, and again, if there's limitation there, or if it doesn't feel comfortable, then you can turn it to the other side. Now, as you continue to explore these different postures we're going to be invited into our practice today, notice where you may feel some discomfort or pain in the body. We're trying to stay away from increasing any pain. So if you have just some minor discomforts due to the stretch or strengthening aspect, that's okay. Just remember, we're trying to reduce suffering, not create it. Pay attention to those areas where you feel discomfort, however, because this may be showing and revealing to you where the work needs to be done, where life is showing up in the body, where stress has affected you or infected you in some way. Now affirm here as you hold and breathe up through the left side body. New life, new energy is now flooding through my being. Roll over to your right side. Push down through your left hand and come up. When you come up, we're going to come all the way to stand. We're going to become or stand at the top of the mat with the feet lodged up underneath our hips. We're going to take the hands to prayer position at the heart. Inhale, sweep the arms to the sides and up. You're welcome to come to upward warrior if that feels good to you. Exhale, dive all the way down through the center to your Uttanasana, your standing forward fold. Now push down through the soles of the feet, straighten out your legs, even though your body's not quite warmed up yet. It's okay to slide your hands up your shins if need be. As you're holding your Uttanasana, affirming mentally within, nothing and no one on this earth can hold me down or back, not even the ego. Inhale, come halfway up, lengthen out through the vertebrae. Exhale, pour right back over and down to your Uttanasana. Inhale, we're stepping back to plank. From plank position, create columns with your arms. Shine forward with your heart. Rock forward. Lower down to Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, lay on the knees, rise to upward facing dog. Exhale, we're going to press back into extended child's pose. Hands are super glued to the back. The head can pour between the arms, and it doesn't necessarily have to touch down. So I have another example regarding the ego. My son got brave a couple months ago and asked his crush on dates. The first time he's ever asked a girl out. She said yes, and then 2 hours later, texted and said, I'm not ready, I want us to be friends. Completely broke his heart. And I'm so proud of him because yesterday, he got to see her for the first time since that moment. And I was telling him, he was like, I'm really nervous, Mom. I'm like, of course you're nervous. You wouldn't be nervous. Breathe. And I told him he was manning up because a lot of men being turned down wouldn't be able to be friends with the girl. And it was a beautiful thing to see. Inhale, rock up to hands and knees. Exhale, downward facing dog. Think about how the ego can mess with relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. Press down through your palms, lengthen up through the vertebrae, space behind the backs of your knees if possible. Lengthen through your limbs, take deep breaths. And then on your next inhalation, look forward towards your hands. You're going to step the feet all the way up, come up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana, and exhale, bow back over and down. So the legs take us back to our family roots, our ties to our past, our conditioning. Think about how our culture conditions us to inflate the ego. But knowing that's the root cause of a lot of suffering, we can become aware of that and shed its influence. So feel as though you're shedding that. Inhale, bring the arms all the way up overhead, palms together, upward worship. And then exhale, bring hands to prayer position at the heart. We're going to take a moment now to separate the feet. We're going to have a little looseness in the knees because we're going to do a twisting kriya. And we're going to be adding in some twists today, which usually does help the low back region. But we're also doing it for the purpose of working into the core of the body. Let's do two more, one to one side, one to the other, come back to center, stand attentively, anatomical position. You might go a little lightheaded since the energy moves up in an abundant way when we do those twists. Let that settle. Like a snow globe, you shake it up and then you let it all settle back down. Bring the feet back together, hands to prayer position at the heart. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale, dive down, Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Now you're going to bend the knees. Once you bend the knees, inhale, come up to chair. Your Utkatasana. From Utkatasana, draw up through your side lats. Gaze straight ahead with your eyes. And then exhale, bring your hands down just in front of your feet. Keep your knees bent, your tailbone dropping low. Build a little strength in your ankles and your quads. Now inhale, slowly lift your hips, but only straighten your right leg. Keep your left knee bent. Now drape down over the legs, bowing your head, lowering your heart. Working into that IT band or that gallbladder meridian. Walk your hands out a little bit farther so you can lift your head and lengthen out through your back. Stay on the left fingertips. Inhale, sweep that right arm out and up towards the heavens. Squeeze that right hip in towards you a little bit. Stack the shoulders if you can. Revolving into the twist. Exhale, bring the right hand down. Bend both knees really deep, just like we did earlier. Trunk is parallel to the floor. You want to begin to feel a little burn through your thighs. And then when you're ready, inhale, start to straighten out your left leg. Keep your right knee bent, and then lift up and down with your head and heart. Exhale, drape down towards your knees, melting the heart, draping down with your neck. Inhale, extend through your mid-thoracic back. And then spin open into the twist. Left arm reaches upward. Left hip squeezes inward. Exhale, bring that left hand down. Now straighten both legs, bow in, Uttanasana. Inhale, step to plank. From your plank position, shine the heart out, rocking tip forward, lower it down to a little push up. Inhale, rise up, upward facing dog. Exhale, rock and roll back, downward facing dog. Open up space in your low back and low belly. Affirming mentally within, calmness is now radiating through each and every fiber of my being. Inhale, look forward towards your hands. You can meditationally walk, lunge, or float through to the top. Ardha Uttanasana. And then exhale, lower down and in. Inhale, come to chair, Utkatasana. From coming to Utkatasana, we're going to bring the hands to the heart. We're going to twist towards the front door. So your left elbow to the opposite side of the right thigh or knee. Look at your knees, line them up, drive the left thigh bone back, pull your navel up, dial your heart towards your thumbs. If you feel confident doing so, we're going to step back with the left foot. Staying in revolving side angle. Pluck your back thigh skyward. Yeah. Push through your back calf and heel. And lunge a little bit more ahead with your right knee. Yep. Nice work. Exhale, unwind from that position. Step back plank. Exhale to chaturanga. Inhale to up dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Deep breaths in and out. Inhale, the right foot's gonna step forward again. We're gonna bring the hands up, take that revolving side angle. Lengthen both thigh bones away from each other. Once you have the twist established, we're gonna step forward with the left foot. Inhale back to chair, Utkatasana. Exhale, this time we're twisting to the left. Crank into the twist. Slide your right thigh bone back. Breathe. This time the right foot's gonna step back. Land on the toes. Refine your pose. Refine your breath. Good, exhale, unwind plank palm, step back plank. Exhale, lower. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, roll it on back. Hold and breathe. Remember the inversions help to initiate more energy into those upper centers, those upper chakras. And the third eye allows us to see things in a new way, a new perspective, different viewpoints. And that can help us to break free from the ego. Let's inhale, the left foot steps forward, hands lift, rotate to your left. From this variation of revolving side angle, we're going to step the right foot forward. Inhale, chair. Exhale, bring the hands down to the heart, except this time when we twist to the right, the left arm will come to the outside of your thigh. Right arm shoots up. You can slide it down to tap the floor. Just monitor your knees. Exhale, hands down to frame the feet. Step your left foot back first. Push into the right foot, straighten out your front leg. Square the hips. When you're ready, open up into this variation of revolving triangle. So we did the IT band stretch earlier to prep for this next phase. This deepening of the IT band. Exhale, right hand down, lunge the knee. Right foot back. Exhale, vinyasa. Move through those postures until you return to downward facing dog. This time we're reestablishing the right foot at the front. Between the hands, press through the foot, restructure the front leg, open back into the twist, same direction as before. Exhale, right hand down, lunge the knee, step the back foot forward, recreate the twist, arms wide open. Good, inhale, chair. Exhale, hands come to the heart. Twist, and then expand your arms. Keep pressing the tailbone back, crown of the head forward. Exhale, unwind, look down. This time, right foot steps back. Good, straighten and structure the left leg. Roll the right hip towards the front of your mat, and then spin open to your left. Exhale, lunge the knee, land the left hand, step back plank, takes a vinyasa. Upon your return to downward facing dog, magnify your breath. Eyes can be open and closed. Inhale, the left foot's gonna step ahead. Front leg straightens. Rotate the twist. Feel free to use blocks, even though I haven't mentioned them. Which side is more sensitive, right or left? Question, is that due to a habit? Is that due to a past injury? Or is that due to life? This is the feminine side. If this is more sensitive, it may be concerning yourself or a female in your life. My mom's showing up right now. Exhale, relunge the knee. So my dad has been so pure, like from his stroke, and she's re-indoctrinating him. And so that's her my mom showing up. It's like, why are you teaching him that again? Right foot steps forward. Take the twist with the arms wide open. Inhale, chair. All right, we're gonna bring it on down to be a little bit more reflective. Fold straight down over legs. Uttanasana. We're gonna inhale, step back, down dog. We're gonna bring the right knee and shin just behind the hands for pigeon. When you're ready, come on down to your level for today. Maybe it's Sphinx arms, maybe it's prayer hands, maybe it's going to the floor. And affirm mentally within, I am enough. I am worthy.
In that case of saying the affirmations, the I goes beyond the ego. The I goes back to the true self. The one without labels.
Now slowly lift to forearms. When you lift to forearms, we're actually going to take a twist. We're going to turn the left forearm in front of us, so it's kind of parallel. And the right arm is going to circle behind the back, thread it around the sacrum. You might even be able to take the hand to hold the foot. Don't worry if you can't reach that. It's not good or bad, right or wrong, if you do or you don't. Leave that out of the equation. See if you can root down to the left elbow, pick up the heart, roll the right shoulder back a little extra. Unthread the right arm. Send it forward, rest on the fingertips, flip your left hand. See if it's possible to thread the arm under to lower to your left ear, and maybe thread that right arm behind your back again, looping it the same way. If that's too much, you can come back up and do the same pose we just did. Let's release the right arm. Press through the right palm. Come back up. Hands solidify to the floor. Curl the back toes. Take it again to downward facing dog, our transition pose. When you're ready, left knee and chin is going to slide up to the front, just behind the hands. Find your degree of flexibility on this side. And honoring the difference between the two. One of the spiritual lessons of the second chakra, where we're digging into the hips here, is that aspect of letting go. And there's a certain amount of the ego that we have to maintain in order just to live in this world. But there's some aspects that we should or could release and let go of. Maybe that's just a competitive drive that you have with yourself or another.
And let's start to bring in a twist. Let's inhale, come up to forearms. And then this will create the transition to the twist. Right arm will cross in front, left arm behind the back. Instead of just kind of flopping downward, rest through that right forearm, lift through your chest, roll the left shoulder back. Release the back hand, set it forward. Flip your right palm, thread it under, lower towards the right ear. Sweep that left arm behind the back again. Maybe attaching to the foot, but no worries if you can't. Where can you soften that you're not already? Perhaps it's the sensory organ. Release the back hand. Unwind from the twist. We're going to lower onto the left outer hip so that we can bring that right foot around in front of us. And we're going to do a little bit more forward. So the feet are going to be farther ahead than the knees and hips. The arms are going to lift up overhead. And then as you exhale, you're going to squeeze the belly in and come halfway back, rounding the spine. Good. Inhale up through the top. Exhale, twist towards Amanda to the left and pull in through your core. That's it. Inhale, lift up, straighten your back, come to center. Exhale, drop the arms to the right, squeeze in through the right side of the obliques. Inhale through center. Exhale, straight back this time. Inhale to the top, exhale this time, twist left. Inhale in and up through center. Exhale, pull straight back. Inhale up. Exhale to the right. Inhale to the top. Exhale through center. Take the twist to either side. We don't have to be in sync with each other, as long as you're getting them in. And this time when you inhale, come to the top, the hands are gonna slip underneath the knees. We're gonna lean back to the back part of the sits bones so the feet float and flex. Shoulders back, chest bumps up. Arms release if you want to work the core more. Stretch your legs forward, drop back to your low part of your spine. Breathe. Exhale, draw it in. Inhale, stretch the legs forward, spread the toes, let the feet hover, lift the head, lift your shoulders, come back to that canoe. Up to half boat. Gaze towards your toes or beyond. Back to canoe. Knees draw in, release the work. We're just gonna do one more. Inhale, legs out, toes spread. Squeeze in the core, and lift the head and heart. Half boat, straighten the spine. Back to canoe. Hover, hold, breathe. And then release all that work. Apanasana, and release. Sink the feet to the floor. Separate your knees wide. Let your hands rest on your belly. Rest your eyes. Soften your inner outer thighs. Soften the hips and the buttocks. Reclined butterfly. Deep breaths in and out through the nose. What's interesting is the chakras above and below the seat of the ego will help determine whether or not we are practicing self-acceptance. Now lift the knees. Place your hands beside your hips and press up into bridge, Satya Bandhasana, where you're tucking and lifting the hips. And then see if you can tuck the shoulders one at a time under the body, puffing the chest more towards your chin. Keep the knees narrow. Breath full. Affirming here, I offer every thought as a bridge to divine grace. Exhale, spread the shoulders, roll it down. And we are ready for Shavasana. So go ahead and set up accordingly. So I shared with my son, we actually had two things come up with the ego with the kids last night. So one, I was telling my son, I'm so proud of you for manning up and, not letting your ego be bruised and still maintaining this friendship with this girl, even though she turned you down. And then our teenage girl decides she wants Instagram. And we told her, well, we can have Instagram, but let's have a talk about it first. Let's talk about the effects that Instagram can have on a teenage girl's mind. And why it's important to have this discussion, because it's all based on the ego, right? If you don't have a healthy relationship to your own self, then something like Instagram, where you're seeing all these photoshopped images of beautiful women and girls, can really be toxic, So as you roll down, as you lay back, as you close your eyes, I want you to think about, this theme today, how the ego can create suffering, and maybe how, where, or when it may be showing up in your life. And how we can use these techniques, these tools, these gifts of yoga and meditation to help to peel back the layers to discover the beauty and the value that we hold
without comparison to anyone else. When we are trapped in the ego, it's the part of us that changes. And so are we clinging to the parts that are changeable? Or can we cling to the part that is unchangeable, more permanent, like the soul? Ego says we are our job, our house, our car, our money, our race, our gender, our personality. But none of that represents the soul. Dive into the core, into the essence of who you really are, the part that is unchangeable. It's ever present. Your breath, your focus will show you the way. Deep and involve your breath. You're hearing the bell chime. Begin to awaken your hands and feet. And hug your knees in with your arms. Remembering that term, my true radical self-acceptance. Gently sway the body side to side, landing eventually to your favorite. Coming up to take a formal seat. Sitting attentively, your eyes closed. So hearing this information is nothing new. I know you've heard all of this before, and I know you know it already. But I want you to be reminded of this, Klesha, so that you can notice after you depart how, when, and where the ego can pop up. And I encourage you, if you're battling with the ego lately, I encourage you to practice seated meditation. The seated meditation is even more powerful than the asana practice. Both of these practices help us to meet and greet ourselves exactly as we are in the now moment. That we can help to dissolve some of those elements of the ego, which will then reduce the afflictions of the mind, which will then create less suffering, so that we can be more contented. And that contentment is santosha, another piece of our yogic philosophy. In your hands to prayer position at your heart, I hope you are contented as you leave your practice today. And I hope you stay super vigilant and aware as you depart. Taking these lessons off the mat with you into your daily life. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.